Artificial intelligence is the latest big thing.
Yes, and as it affects music, it's really fascinating. There are bands that millions of people are listening to on Spotify that aren't real. They're actually AI creations.
And that just totally blows my mind. Some of the most successful so-called bands are AI. They will never go on tour before live audiences because they aren't actually people. They're totally artificial.
It is wild to think about. I mean, we're really standing on this precipice where the whole definition of a band is just shifting under our feet.
Great.
But, to really get where we're going with these phantom algorithms, I think we have to look back.
Look back at what we're leaving behind.
Exactly. Because while this digital world is exploding, the physical world, the world of wood and wire, is holding on to its value in a massive way.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. And you don't just mean value in a metaphorical sense. You mean literal, cold, hard cash.
I do.
Because I saw that news from the auction back in May of 2024, and my jaw just about hit the floor.
So you're talking about the Framus.
I am absolutely talking about the Framus. Okay, we have to unpack this because the number is just staggering. A guitar goes up for sale.
But not just any guitar.
No. This is John Lennon's 1964 Framus Hootenanny. A 12-string acoustic.
The lost guitar. This thing is a sonic footprint. It's the instrument you hear on Help and all over Rubber Soul.
Right.
If you listen to You've Got to Hide Your Love Away, that jingle-jiggle texture, that's this exact piece of wood.
It's iconic, and a collector paid $2.85 million for it.
Wow.
$2.85 million for something that was, basically found in an attic.
It sounds absurd when you just think of it as materials, right? Some spruce, mahogany, a few strings. But that price tag, it tells us something really profound. That collector isn't buying wood and glue. They're buying a physical connection to a memory.
They're buying proof that the band was real.
Yes, because for the Beatles, those instruments weren't just props. They were the engines. The guitar was the whole vehicle.
Well, think about George Harrison.
George is the perfect example. He didn't just walk into the band because he had the right haircut.
No.
He got in because he sat in his room and practiced until his fingers bled.
That famous story, right? The audition on top of the bus.
Exactly. He played raunchy note for note. He had the skill guitar. That was his ticket.
He had to prove it on the fretboard. There was no auto-tune for your fingers back then.
Precisely. The instruments were the tools that let their genius come through. The songwriting, the vocals. None of it happens without that musicianship underneath it all.
It was a requirement. Step one to being a rock star was learn to play.
But that's the big change, isn't it? That was then. Today, the ground rules are completely different. Playing an instrument is, well, it's almost optional.
It's not the prerequisite for stardom anymore.
No. And to be fair, we saw hints of this a long time ago. I mean, look at the vocal legends.
Frank Sinatra, Barbra Streisand.
Right. They weren't shredding guitar solos.
True, Frank wasn't slinging a Stratocaster.
But, and this is a huge but, they still needed a band. There was always an orchestra in the pit or musicians in the shadows.
Human beings were generating the sound in real time.
Always. But now, you can be a global superstar with just a pre-recorded backing track.
You go to a massive pop concert today for, say, an Ariana Grande or a Billie Eilish.
Who are incredibly talented vocalists.
Absolutely. But you're more likely to see dancers on stage with them than, a bassist or a drummer.
The focus is the visual spectacle. Though we should say Taylor Swift is a big exception there. She still tours with a full live band.
She does, and she makes them part of the show.
But she's becoming the outlier. The industry has shifted from the band to the brand.
It's fascinating how we got here. The dominant instrument has always changed with technology, hasn't it?
Always. It's survival of the loudest. If you go back to the early 20th century, the banjo was king.
The banjo. Right.
Oh, yeah, mainstream pop. Because before amps, you needed something that could cut through a noisy dance hall.
And it has that punchy sound.
A sharp attack. Then in the 20s, jazz takes over, so you get brass. A trumpet can drown out almost anything.
And then electricity changes the game.
Exactly. The rock era brings us the electric guitar, Chuck Berry, Buddy Holly. Suddenly, volume is unlimited. Then the 80s give us synthesizers.
But through all of that, banjo, trumpet, guitar, synth, there was one constant.
A person.
A human being playing in real time.
That link was unbroken. Until, very recently. Which puts us in this really weird middle ground.
Let's talk about that Halsey concert, because that story really illustrates this strange transition period we're in.
It really does. So Halsey is a powerhouse performer, puts on a huge arena show, And she had a full band.
How big?
A 12-piece band.
12 people. That's a huge payroll.
And they were dressed in these sharp white suits. Looked great. But here's the catch.
What?
They were hidden.
Hidden, like behind a curtain or something.
Even worse, they were tucked away on a platform below the stage. Like an orchestra pit, but way down.
So the audience couldn't even see them.
I'd say 80% of the crowd had no idea they were there. They were hearing live music, but they were watching a solo performer.
That is so strange. Why pay for 12 musicians and then hide them in the basement?
It's that modern aesthetic tension. You want the authenticity, the sound of live musicians.
Because your ears can tell the difference.
Right. But you want the clean visual of the solo pop star, no clutter from drum kits and amps. It's a very weird compromise.
It's like, we want the sausage, but we don't want to see how it's made.
That's a good way to put it.
But then you have the complete opposite end of the spectrum. You have someone like Post Malone.
Oh, he's a fascinating counterpoint to all this.
Right. So he tours with no band. Zero. It is just him.
Just him, a microphone, and a whole lot of charisma.
And very, very loud backing tracks.
Yes.
I mean, bone-rattling stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then about 15 minutes in, he does something that feels almost ancient.
He sits down.
Sits on a stool, picks up an acoustic guitar, and he plays a ballad.
And the whole energy of the arena just shifts. It shrinks.
It's intimate. Just a guy and a guitar. But then the song ends. And what he does next is the real show.
He stands up.
And he smashes it.
Smashes the guitar. And not just a little tap. He spends a full minute just pounding it into the stage until it's nothing but splinters.
It's so violent, it's chaotic.
It is, but it's also a kind of performance art. It has deep roots. It reminds me so much of The Who.
Pete Townsend, the godfather of guitar smashing.
Exactly. But you know how that started? It wasn't planned. It wasn't a marketing gimmick.
It wasn't. I just assumed it was.
No. It was 1964, the Railway Hotel. Low ceilings. Townsend lifts his guitar up and snap, the neck breaks on the ceiling.
Ouch.
Yes.
An expensive mistake.
And the crowd laughed. They thought it was funny.
Yeah.
So Townsend, he gets angry, he gets humiliated, and he basically decides, I'll give you a show. And he just obliterates the rest of it.
Wow. So it was born out of pure rage.
Rage and rebellion. Roger Daltrey called it a sacrificial lamb. He said the sound of the guitar screaming as it died was part of the art.
That's intense.
And Townsend had all these complex reasons for it later. Protesting consumerism, rebelling against his musician father.
But it eventually became routine, didn't it?
It did. He admitted it became a meaningless trick the audience expected, but, and this is the key, it established the instrument as a disposable tool.
Which brings us back to Post Malone. When he smashes that guitar, it's a very human moment of chaos.
It's an impulse, something an algorithm would never do because it's inefficient.
Right. And that's the real contrast. While he's turning wood into splinters, we have the rise of the fully AI band.
Yeah, we have to talk about the details here because they're startling.
And it's not just a computer helping with the audio mix.
No, I mean, you still have young multi-instrumentalists out there, like Justin Bieber.
Yeah, Bieber can really play.
Taught himself drums at age 2, guitar, piano, trumpet. The guy is skilled. But in today's world, those skills almost feel quaint.
Quaint. That's a heavy word for being that talented.
It is. But look what he's up against. In June 2025, a band called the Velvet Sundown appears on Spotify. Psychedelic rock.
Cool name.
Very cool. They have over 550,000 monthly listeners.
500,000 people.
And their bio is great. It lists members like Mellotron sorcerer Gabe Farrow.
I'd love to meet Gabe Farrow.
You can.
Why? Is he a recluse?
Because he doesn't exist. Gabe Farrow is a figment of code. The band photos are AI. The music was made on a platform called Suno.
So, no humans played any notes?
Not a single one. And it's not just rock. Look at Aventus, an outlaw country act.
Okay.
Over 1 million listeners. Now, a human wrote the lyrics for that one, but all the music, all AI.
For these are generating real revenue.
Yeah.
Showing up on people's Discover Weekly playlists.
You might have hummed along to them without ever knowing. Which brings us to the big question.
The verdict. If the Beatles started today, would they even use guitars?
It's the ultimate what if. Would George Martin have told them, boys, let's just optimize an algorithm?
Or would the cover of Sgt. Pepper just be a prompt into an image generator?
It's a scary thought. But what do you think? Is the sky falling? Are humans obsolete?
It kind of feels like we might be.
I don't think so. I really don't.
Why not? The AI bands have the numbers.
Because of the human flaw.
The flaw.
The imperfection, the music that lasts, that stays with you for decades, it connects because it has blood, sweat, and tears baked into it. It has mistakes.
Like the Beatles themselves.
Exactly. Think about their first album, Please Please Me, recorded in a single day. John Lennon had a terrible cold.
Right.
He was chugging tea, sucking on lozenges. By the time they recorded Twist and Shout, his voice was completely shredded.
And you can hear it.
You can hear the strain. It's raw and desperate, and that makes it exciting. And AI doesn't get a cold. It doesn't get desperate.
Or the rooftop concert.
Yes. Freezing wind, hands are cold, worried the police are coming up the stairs. And yet, what they delivered was transcendent.
And what about the chemistry, the actual playing?
Oh, that's crucial. The magic was how John's rhythm guitar locked in with Paul's bass.
That interplay.
Right. Paul's bass lines were so melodic, weaving around the rhythm. And then you have Ringo.
Deceptively simple.
But he propelled them forward with this very specific human swing. He was never perfectly on the beat. It was all about feel.
The ghost in the machine.
That's it. An AI can study every Beatles song ever made. It can mimic the sound, but it will always, always miss that ghost. It misses the genius that comes from conflict, collaboration, and four guys in a room trying to capture lightning in a bottle.
That's a hopeful way to look at it. We can automate the sound, but maybe not the struggle.
Exactly. Post Malone smashing that guitar, that's not an optimized engagement strategy. It's just a raw, chaotic, human impulse.
And code doesn't have impulses.
Not yet. If the Beatles formed today, the tools would be different, sure. Maybe guitars would be optional. But the humanity, that's not optional.
I love that.
Ugh.
The tools change, but the requirement for a soul doesn't.
That is the bottom line. We connect with truth, and truth is a human thing.
Well, thanks for joining us today. Whenever you feel like knowing more about the Beatles, visit us at BeatlesRewind.com. It's the Beatles, all day, every day, 8 days a week. Kaz, we'll do it again tomorrow.
We absolutely will. Goodbye, everyone.
Until next time, when you listen.
Your mind conducts its own symphony.